It's Ramadan time in Bosnia, which is a country in the southeast of Europe, and my dad, while I'm walking next to him, is telling me, "Hey son, look at these people with the blonde hair and blue eyes. Did you know that they are Muslim?" And I'm looking at him like, why aren't they wearing any hijab like they do in the Netherlands, which is where I'm living? And he told me the Bosnian Muslim people are really different than people from Turkey or Morocco like you know them in the Netherlands. And at that time I was a little teenage boy who could only truly judge people by their outer appearance. So I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Their outer appearance really told me they look like Western people, like I do. Later in my life I started researching religion, and I was really agnostic, so I wouldn't say that I believed in a higher power. I would rather say you could not prove that such higher power exists or doesn't exist. In secondary school I fell in love with a Turkish girl with hijab, and we started dating. My dad, while he was going to the supermarket, as he knew of this relationship and also about the bloody history in Bosnia, I encountered him while I was dating her, and he was like, "Oh, okay, so that's your girlfriend, good to meet her," but he didn't shook her hand. So I was like, "Hey Dad," later when we were home, "why didn't you shake the hand of the girl?" And he was like, "Boy, listen to me. In Bosnia there were like 3 religions living. One of them Islamic, secondary Orthodox Christian, third Catholic Christian. Bosniaks, Bosnian Serbs, Bosnian Croats. And during that time I learned with my Muslim friends that I had there that you shouldn't shake a woman's hand if she is Muslim, because it shows you respect her." Sorry for my English, by the way, I hope it's okay for you. On the secondary school I started to meet a lot new Muslim friends in the Netherlands, like Khalid, which is still to today my best friend. His parents fled the war in Iraq to the Netherlands to also get a better future, so we had this common ground. My parents fled from Bosnia also for a better future for their kids, my sister and I. My mom is really Catholic, at least her mom is, and sometimes in her life I saw her praying, but she didn't want to force her kids, my sister and I, to go to the church, right? So because her mom, which was like really Catholic person, always pushed her while she was living in Bosnia, actually former Yugoslavia, forced her to go to the church, and she never wanted to, which is why I didn't have a religious upbringing. So without any knowledge about Christianity, I started listening to my Muslim friend and friends, and also to my Muslim girlfriend. This is all happening in the Netherlands, which you would say is 20% Catholics and 15% now Protestants. I recall having this break in secondary school, as it was like really multicultural. Dutch people, they're also Dutch but have a different migrational background. I was sitting with an Afghan girl, Moroccan, the Turkish girlfriend, and this Punjabi Indian friend, and me. We were speaking about pig meat, it being unhealthy as scientists had proved it until today. And these Muslim girls, they were telling it with such conviction that I was like, man, this religion must be the truth, as it knows a lot about, for example, what's healthy and unhealthy food. At that time I didn't know about Bible verses which say it's not about what goes into your mouth that defiles you, such as pig meat, but what comes out of you, like looking lustfully at a woman, swearing words and whatever, that makes you a defiled person. So without any Christian knowledge, which I didn't get from home, I started to believe that this religion, which these people have such convictions for, and the things that are saying sound so logical, must be true. And then they started speaking about Jesus like he's just a prophet, he's a man, and like I didn't know anything about Christianity, so I was like, that must be true, because it's more logical for a person to be a person than to also be a god. I started to do my first Ramadan later in my teenage life, and one of my Afghan Muslim friends inspired me to do so. And I think secondary school is really a time when a teenage person is looking at identity, like who's he belonging to which group. And I felt that one of my other friends, the Afghan guy, truly knew a lot about religion. He prayed 5 times a day. By the way, he isn't Muslim anymore today, so that's like a crazy story, maybe for our next video. So please subscribe if you think it's interesting. until now. Before Ramadan started, I went to the mosque with him, so I learned to do basic prayer, and I was inspired to start the Ramadan. So at home, of course, my parents wouldn't be able to know this, because it's like when you're born in a certain way, me being born, I would say agnostic, then you die as an agnostic. That's what my father always would say. But my Afghan friend had a different theory. He was like, how can you do all these practices and also start the challenge of Ramadan if you're not a Muslim? And I thought, I'm doing what a Muslim does, which means I must be becoming Muslim. Ramadan started and I made a tosti in the morning. I didn't eat the whole day, and I packaged the tosti in this paper, and also had some cookies and candies to break my fast in the evening while I was sitting all alone in my home. And it was like a fun experience, because I couldn't tell my parents, because they wouldn't accept it. But later in my life, my mom, I would think I was 17, I had already done my Shahada at that time. She saw that I had the Quran in my drawers, because I had started to take Arabic lessons at this Afghan teacher, which this friend recommended, and she was so in shock. She had the books in her hand, and I was like, no, I'm not Muslim, I'm not doing anything with it. I still continued lying, looking at her straight in her eyes. Islam didn't change the lying part of me, which is a fun thing, because as I later in my life became Christian, these things like not lying. I was also in a Christian sect, so I will tell you about that in another video. Please like and subscribe as I share my story and hope to inspire you about faith in God. My mom told me, when did you start with all of this? And I looked her in the eye, and I knew that I couldn't lie anymore, because she started crying. And imagine your mother crying because you've been lying to her the whole time. And I told her I became Muslim, and she was like, if Dad find this out, there will be like problems. Imagine you being from a different faith and changing to another religion. Like, how would your family react? She told me that I converted to Islam because I was in love with a Turkish girl. And she told me that I couldn't stay with her if I wouldn't convert, right? Because in Islam, the man must be Muslim. My mom also told me that if a person truly loves you, you wouldn't need to change your identity, which is also your religion, in order for the two of you to be together. And somehow it stuck with me. And I was like, what if I didn't change the religion part about me, which I had done? Would we be able to be together? From there on, there came a lot of problems, which I will tell in a different YouTube video. So please subscribe if you think this is interesting. But the main point of this story is, how far did I go for love as a teenage boy? And looking at these influences in my surroundings, like being inspired by people that have conviction in their faith. Like I wish there were more Christians in secondary school that would have inspired me about Christianity. Anyhow, that's something for a different video. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and tell me about your conversion story. Like, really, I believe, like in Islam it says, you have your religion, I have my religion. Today I'm Christian a few years. I also had a story about being in a cult, a sect, Christian sect, which is for another time. But I don't want to create negative discussion, just open discussion, because the thing I like about Jesus in the Bible the most is, even if you're an enemy in religion, like the way you think about God, it's different. Like shirk in Islam is a sin that is not to be forgiven. You cannot compare anything to Allah and worship other gods but Allah, and you must accept Muhammad as his last prophet. In Christianity is, if you deny the Father and the Son, like Islam directly does, then you're an antichrist. So I believe these two religions, like at its core, are against each other, and it's okay. After a lot of years, I just admit it, and I speak openly with it with my best friend, like also different friends now. So let's have an open discussion about religion and try to see the beautiful side of it. Thank you.